Okay, everybody. It's just a couple days before the BAFTA nominations come out. Well, at the time of this shooting, more like a day and a half, but yeah. Anyhow, we've got some final predictions to give out there. And then also, I wanted to just quickly recap on our DGA, PGA, ACETI, and WGA nominees. Now, the other two, we talked about Directors Guild and Producers Guild nominations here last time. Not too bad. 4 out of 5 and 8 out of 10, or maybe not respectively in that order, but yeah, 4 out of 5 on the directors and 8 out of 10 on the PGA nominees. But yeah, the WGA I thought was actually a little further off, and yeah, ACETI, yeah, some of those I just kind of like, oh, okay, they're out. That's kind of deal. And WGA, I also had not really heard 100% going into the nominees, like who was eligible, who was not. So that's why I'm always like, oh, I want to know a little bit more about that first. And this time, for whatever reason, I just I couldn't find the articles in time or whatever, and I couldn't. I didn't know who was eligible and who was not. So I was like, well, dummy like me, I don't want to throw out, oh, here's all the favorites to get in, and it's like, well, half of them aren't even going to be eligible. So yeah, I don't know. I try to save face a little bit with stuff like that. Okay, so actually, let's get the guild stuff out of the way here first, and I can kind of quickly, I guess, run down. Okay, what stands a good shot to win and stuff like that. Okay, so the nominees here for the Producers Guild. We'll start with the Producers Guild, and I think I can get these in alphabetical order here. Okay, so it would be Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Coda, Dune, Don't Look Up. I think I missed those two around. Otherwise, I'm good so far. King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Tick Tick Boom, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Again, something roughly like that. Anyhow, so I ditched Being the Ricardos not last second, going into it there, which, yeah, it's strange because, again, that one, other than a couple places, has kind of been missing a lot of the guilds that would show, like costume designers and production designers guilds, art directors guild. Both of those, I thought, it maybe had it's obviously not like a huge front runner in those categories of the Oscars by any means. But if it was going to be, a huge player, or at least maybe a bigger player than we were expecting in certain categories, maybe a placement there would kind of would help out. Just like we saw, we'll get to the ACETIs there, but there was one category there, one particular nomination that made me say, huh, okay, maybe. But again, we'll get to that here in a second. As far as this one goes, yeah, I still agree this one is Power of the Dog versus Belfast. And yeah, again, something like Belfast, I think, gets a little bit of an advantage here because Producers Guild, like the Oscars for Best Picture, have never gone with a streaming winner before. At least, I'm questioning that right now. They did go Green Book over Roma. Let's see, 2019 they went 1917 over like Irishman and Marriage Story and stuff. And then, last year they went with Nomadland, which true was on Hulu for a little bit, but it had premiered in theaters and stuff. So that was, again, that one I would say, yeah, that one doesn't really have a huge caveat. Some people will say otherwise, but I disagree. All right, let me move on now to the Directors Guild, and this one, 4 out of 5, yeah. So let's see here. And real quickly, Producers Guild, the two I missed were House of Gucci and Nightmare Alley. And yeah, House of Gucci is the one, the Nightmare Alley one I was a little bit more like, okay, that can happen, doesn't mean it's going to happen, But the House of Gucci one I was a little bit more confident in between that one and those last minute ones, because the other 8 I think we were all pretty sure on there. It's like really, and then Tick Tick Boom was one I was like, okay, that one was close. That would probably be an 11th or 12th for me in the original listings and stuff. So that one didn't knock me out by any surprise by being in there. But that was kind of. I was expecting that one to be kind of the box office hit if it wasn't going to be something like Spider-Man or one of the big juggernauts like that, which is kind of the only one we have this year, of course. Okay, so for the Directors Guild, your 5 nominees, and I had the original 5, and right before I shot the video and while I was filming it, I actually switched one. And it was Kenneth Branagh, Jane Campion, Paul Thomas Anderson, Steven Spielberg, and Denis Villeneuve for your 5 here. And Yeah, again, it's like, okay, because we always say, okay, at the Directors Guild, there's always one missing. It's like, okay, which one is it going to be? I would say, really right now, again, Villeneuve, Brana, and Campion feel like the safe three right now. Spielberg, should be a sure bet, but again, it's like, okay, there's a couple of times in the past year at the Directors Guild he's been nominated and missed, Color Purple obviously being a big one. Amistad, there was one other example. Jaws was another one there. So it's like, just because Directors Guild puts him in doesn't always mean that he carries over. And I believe all three of those also nominated him at like the Globes and stuff like that. So, yeah, then again, West Side Story, again, really has not shown any weaknesses so far. Won at the Globes, got a bunch of nominations at Critics' Choice. SAG, I think, is arguably the only one there. It's still got something, so it's not like they totally skunked it. So this ensemble nomination omission there might be the only one where it's like, okay, that one, yeah, maybe that's the only, like, arguable spot, other than like the we mentioned the Cinematographers Guild one, but again, that one is a little bit more minor, I would think. I don't necessarily see that one particularly being like a sign pointing to Spielberg missing with the director's branch there. And yeah, PTA, I can see PTA missing. I don't know. It would be kind of a weird lineup if they go Villeneuve, Brana, Campion, PTA, and then somebody else. That would be a little weird. I'm trying to think who gets in over Spielberg, but Paul Thomas Anderson still gets in. Yeah, that's a little, that's kind of a question mark there. Obviously, other than if you want to go with Hamaguchi or Sorrentino or one of those other ones, if they get in, either one of them get into BAFTA here on Thursday. I lost track of my days of the week there for a second on where we are and stuff. But no, I as far as this one goes for winner, Campion seems to have the advantage right now, and I don't really see any reason to shake that. Unless Belfast kind of starts going on like a sweep there, wins at SAG, wins PGA, and then wins with DGA, kind of like Birdman kind of had a turnaround season there, which could happen. I mean, Power of the Dog, I don't want to make a full comparison there, but like Boyhood, it kind of is a slower paced movie. And it feels like it's more of a bigger accomplishment in that way versus a more entertaining film versus Birdman, kind of had a little bit of both, though, to be fair. Belfast, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a couple, editing's good, cinematography's really good, acting is pretty good and everything, but it doesn't really have that big technical wow like Birdman does. But at the same time, I think it is a little bit more of a heartwarming, a little bit more of a crowd-pleasing film, certainly, than Power of the Dog is, which is a little bit more... kind of a more slow burn, type Western there. So, yeah. Then again, a kind of slower burn type film, kind of like Nomadland last year, though, didn't really struggle. It won 2 of the 3. There wasn't nominated for ensemble there at SAG, but yeah. Let's see here. Otherwise, real quick, I can get into the 6 nominees for first time director. Let's see here. If I can get these. Yeah, again, this will be kind of last minute alphabetical here. Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter. Rebecca Hall for Passing, which is a big... I should have... Yeah, when I was listing the ones that are like, oh, yeah, that's first time. Rebecca Hall completely skipped my mind. Tatiana Huzo, I think, for Prayers of the Stolen, again, questioning pronunciation on that. Lin-Manuel Miranda for Tick, Tick, Boom. Michael Cernovsky for Pig, and Emma Seligman for Shiva Baby. Yeah, and I think this is really going to be a mano-a-mano versus Maggie Gyllenhaal and Lin-Manuel Miranda, and that's obviously, you get what it's the expression, not the actual literal definition of that, because obviously I know Gyllenhaal's not a man, at least, I haven't heard anything. Okay, that's a bad joke. Never mind. Anyhow, you get what I mean. I think this is definitely a showdown between these two, and I think Rebecca Hall might. If it's enough vote splitting, she might play as a spoiler there, but I'm not really going to bet on that anytime soon. Now, as far as that goes, I think Tick, Tick, Boom did get a PGA nomination. Seems to be sticking around more so in those top categories versus The Lost Daughter. Not that necessarily always helps you at DGA. So right now, I'm just going with Lin-Manuel Miranda. But I might switch to Gyllenhaal before this is over. Yeah, I think that one it'll be a close one, and there'll definitely be some arguments to be made for both sides there. And I think for their first time directing, yeah, I think they both did a pretty good job there with their respective films. Overall, I think I do like Miranda's work a little bit more on Tick Tick Boom, and I enjoyed that movie a little bit more than Lost Daughter. But both, I mean, definitely we know Miranda is probably going to direct another few things in the future, and he might even. I don't know. We don't know long term yet. I don't know if Gyllenhaal plans on going back to the director's chair immediately, but I can see somebody like Lin-Manuel Miranda getting maybe an Oscar nomination in the future before Gyllenhaal does, in as far as the directing goes and everything. And again, that's just right now. That's just like that feels like it's a little bit more like he wants to maybe go in that wheelhouse. Versus Gyllenhaal, I think she wanted to definitely give this a try and everything, and I think she was pretty good at it. Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if she can find another project that catches her fancy there. Okay, WGA next. Let's see. Let's start with the original screenplay category. So the 5 here are Being the Ricardos, Don't Look Up, The French Dispatch, Licorice Pizza, and King Richard. So I think I didn't name King Richard twice, did I? I don't think so. Okay. Anyhow. With this one here, Belfast was the one that's been getting in everywhere here, and obviously that one I read later was like, I was like, okay, that was weird. That one, it's not eligible because Branagh's not part of the guild. And I believe for 99% of them, or 90%, maybe not 100% of them, obviously, but I believe just being a member of the guild is the thing that's keeping a lot of these writers out. So yeah, French Dispatch, I know early on was one I was thinking, I don't know if I quite ever had this lineup for original screenplay on the Oscars side, but yeah, French Dispatch seems to be, doing okay with the guilds here. It didn't get the Producers Guild by any means, and obviously we weren't expecting it Directors Guild or anything like that. But yeah, and I'm still saying I think it's going to do okay at BAFTA. I don't think it's going to blow us over with like 8, 9, 10 nominations by any means. But definitely I can see it getting in the 4 or 5 or maybe even a couple more range. As far as best film over there, yeah, that's going to be a little tougher. But I don't know. Some people like Benicio del Toro getting a nomination there in the supporting actor slot. That could happen. Let's see here. Otherwise... yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think getting a nomination here without Belfast, I think, is easier. If Belfast had been eligible here, would French Dispatch have made it in over something like King Richard, or maybe over Being the Ricardos, possibly? Yeah, I can see that argument, but yeah, for this one, I think it's definitely going to come down to probably Licorice Pizza is definitely the front runner right now. I think something like King Richard could upset here, and Being the Ricardos does stand a little bit of a chance. Because, I don't know, a few of us thought possible last year Aaron Sorkin could win here for Chicago 7. But I don't know. I don't know if this is necessarily one where it's like, okay, let's give him the makeup. Because I believe he's won at the Writers Guild before. Like, Social Network, I believe he did win for. So I'm going to fact check that real quick. Nominations, Writers Guild. Yeah, Social Network. Yeah, I believe. I was like, okay, I thought there was maybe one more. On the TV side, he did win for one of, I don't know if this is early episodes, but West Wing he won for. So anyhow, let's move on to the adapted category here. Okay, nominees here are Coda, Dune, Nightmare Alley, Tick Tick Boom, and West Side Story. So again, Power of the Dog was a big one that missed here. And, what was the other one I was going to say? There's a couple that were missing here. What was the other one? Lost Daughter, I believe, was not eligible. I think that's the one, actually. Drive My Car, I think, just because it's Writers Guild of America, I don't think that one was eligible as well. Well, actually, no. Parasite won, so it's like, okay, maybe that one had a weird thing with the guild that year or something. Let's see. I think otherwise, I thought I saw that Passing was also ineligible here. Tragedy of Macbeth, I believe, was eligible, so that one missed. But yeah, that one I've been leaning less and less on as a likely bet here in adapted screenplay, especially after seeing it. I'm like, okay, it's kind of literally just the play, so it's like, yeah, that doesn't always impress the voters that much. Okay, so with this one, boy, this kind of leaves it open for something like Coda to make a big splash here. West Side Story could also win here, but Tick Tick Boom I actually have in second place on this one. I don't know. Something tells me that one might actually stick around. Now, is it going to be strong enough to get that adapted screenplay nomination at the Oscars? That's going to be a little tougher because obviously, like we said, Power of the Dog and Lost Daughter are going to be obviously back in play there, and they're both right now very much more likely than Tick Tick Boom to get the nomination. Otherwise, Coda and West Side Story feel pretty good. Dune, I'm starting to think, feels a little more solid here in adapted screenplay. So yeah, it would have to really get in over quite a few films there, and really, really be that. And again, that doesn't really stick out to me like a writer's movie, and that's nothing against the film at all, but it's just I don't know. It's like musicals, and again, that's true with West Side Story. Musicals don't always do extremely well in the screenplay categories as well. Remember, La La Land struggled at the Oscars. It wasn't the favorite. I picked Manchester that year. And even go back to the original West Side Story, it swept every category except, you guessed it, screenplay. So yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if it did get in, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's kind of a tall hill to climb right now for that film, and we'll kind of leave it at that, and we'll see where they go with it. I mean, it would be quite, if it wins at WGA. Okay, maybe, we'll see, obviously, because at that point we'll have the Oscar nominations out. But that shows kind of the staying power of that one. Okay, so Ace Eddie's the last one here. Real quick, I did want to mention these because this could give us some insight into the editing category, which does feel like it does have some definitely some competition there, and definitely some maneuvering that we have to do for that, for who's going to get in. So the nominees here are Belfast, Dune, King Richard, No Time to Die, and The Power of the Dog. Now, obviously, they do split these between drama and comedy, so obviously the first ones we're doing here are drama. The No Time to Die nomination, at first, I thought was really like a, whoa, okay, they like that. But then I looked again, I'm like, well, Skyfall got in. And that was, remember almost every, well, not every, I want to say, but, a lot of the heavier Best Picture favorites that year were in the drama category. Real quick, I was going to see, because which ones missed out on that year, because I remember there being a couple in that category that were like, oh, okay, where's that one, for the editing nomination there at Ace Eddie, and it was, they were missing, but, yeah, so they have liked, especially something like Skyfall was much more on the Best Picture, or maybe not, obviously, lineup, but, it was more in the Oscars conversation that year than something like Spectre or Quantum of Solace or even Casino Royale for the recent ones there. So, again, at first I was a little more surprised by it, but still, getting in over a couple other films there, that's a good sign, that one could strike there. Let's see here, because, again, we do have a few that are over in that comedy category as well that are looking pretty good. Like something like Coda missed out here. Definitely something like House of Gucci would have benefited here. Being the Ricardos, I believe, was considered here in this category, unless I'm totally wrong and I'm blowing it right now. no, it's over here. So so it's good on them to get that, and obviously that does kind of pinpoint those other films. Like, oh, okay, maybe not every last Guild goes for them, and that's true. Coda. Again, that one, like the Cinematographers Guild, obviously some of the more ones, unless it was going to be in the contemporary spots there, we knew that one was not always going to have the strongest Guild performance there. Okay, then for the comedy musical categories here, for editing, nominees are Cruella, Don't Look Up, Licorice Pizza, French Dispatch, and Tick Tick Boom. So I think this one, I don't want to say 100% it's this, but Licorice Pizza and Don't Look Up are probably the two it comes down to, and I would say Don't Look Up is probably the one that gets it right now. It's kind of got that nicer editing in that way, and I believe Corwin, did he win both for Vice and for Big Short? I thought he won for sure for Big Short, but I don't know. I'll look that one up later. So I don't know. Unless they're kind of sick of his editing, then yeah, they might go with Licorice Pizza there, or possibly with Tick Tick Boom. Yeah. So I guess the big one here, obviously, West Side Story was missing here, and I don't know. That one was like they kind of just blew it on that one, kind of missing on that nomination. Otherwise, what was the other one I was going to say that was vying in that category? Gosh, I lost it. It was one. Eyes of Tammy Faye. I was going to say no. That should be in the drama race. Gosh, there was one I was thinking of, and now I totally. It's not like a high hopes right now, but it would have been probably eligible as far as I know in the comedy musical one, but I'm forgetting which one it is. Okay, and yeah, that one. Okay, so that one again, it kind of like the other one there for that one. That there's probably some rule or something that I'm forgetting about that is the reason that one didn't get in for editing here. But yeah, otherwise that would have been a total gimme here. And I don't know, it probably would have won over Don't Look Up or Licorice Pizza. But yeah, again, something like Tick Tick Boom, definitely. I think there's some people, there's certain sequences I think that are pretty fast editing and stuff. One of them is relatively toward the beginning. I'm like, okay. Because that's the thing I try to say with a couple of these, not always favorable predictions that I go with that sometimes do come through. Like probably the most recent one I can think of that I'm still proud of that I got this nomination. It was Jojo Rabbit when it got in for film editing. I was like, look, something like Tick Tick Boom. Okay, maybe there's a couple voters that aren't into musicals. They're not going to vote for West Side Story #1 or Tick Tick Boom #1. But if they watch it enough, they're going to see, particularly if they're in the editing branch, they're going to see early on, okay, there's some fast cuts here. Okay, so even then they might consider it, a little bit more so than they did before. Jojo Rabbit, again, early on, there's kind of some quick cuts, and everything. And usually, I would say like the first third. So if they got bored at that point or they just didn't care for it, then they shut it off. Then it's like, okay, they still saw the first third. They saw, okay, there's some good tight editing here, stuff like that. But yeah, and another one here, Cruella is kind of sticking around, getting a couple of Guild nominations here and there. And again, this is another spot for French Dispatch. So again, I'm kind of leaning on with French Dispatch because I've only got it still in the score and the production design categories right now. I'm starting to think maybe, and maybe not this category, not editing, but costume design could be. And I'm trying to think if there was one other one I was maybe thinking of, but now I've... because it's not on the long list or short list for makeup. I was going to say that maybe would have stood a better chance if it was long listed there at the Oscars or short listed or whatever. But no, okay, yeah, I forgot what it was. And again, I'm not saying it's 100% done for screenplay, but I don't know. I don't know if I would put 100% stock into it there for that one. Okay, all right, so that does it for the Guild's wrap-up there. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the nominations here for BAFTA. Not just to save time, but also because I did genuinely look these over again, and I looked at them all, and I was like, you know what? I really don't think that I need to make too many changes here in the tech categories. So everything I said last time in the tech categories, I'm keeping to it. The only thing, I'll really quick, okay, one or two things I was considering there to switch real quick. Let's see, in the editing category, after it did get the Ace Eddie nomination, I was like, okay, this is BAFTA, maybe No Time to Die will get in. But I looked at it again, I'm like, okay, Belfast, I don't think so. I think they'll like it more than that. Don't Look Up, and I'm like, no, I think they will go for that one in that category. And again, I Don't Look Up, I have doing probably maybe getting the most nominations, arguably, we'll see, or getting close to the most nominations of any of the other guilds and award shows this year. I'm like, they might strike it best here at BAFTA, and then maybe at the Oscars too. They might come like 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 or something, like that. Let's see, and then I was like, okay, Dune is next. I'm like, no, I don't see Dune missing. Power of the Dog, no, they'll probably that one. The one I was debating taking out was Power of the Dog, but I'm like, no, I think they'll like it enough. I don't see them missing it. And then West Side Story, which again kind of feels like a good filler for all these tech categories and stuff. So kind of like Dune, it's like almost like a write-in at this point. So yeah, so I was considering that, but I'm like, no, I don't have the galls to do it. And then the only other one I was maybe considering was putting Nightmare Alley in for cinematography instead of one of the others there, or French Dispatch. But again, I looked at the list. It's Belfast, Dune, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, West Side Story, and I'm like, I don't, no. No, I'm not. Again, Power of the Dog is the one I did drop at the Oscars for now when I put in Nightmare Alley, but no, I don't think so. See, I'm keeping the same 10 also for British film. Again, Operation Mincemeat was the one I was going to throw in. But I was like, I looked at it again. I'm like, no, I think they're gonna like these other 10 enough. Again, the one or two that I'm questioning here would be House of, or three. I'll throw in another one. Cyrano, House of Gucci, and Spencer could be the three that miss. One of those three could miss, or potentially all three. But again, I was like, I just don't have the no. I don't know. I'm not sure which one to cut. So I'm like, okay, I'll just stick with what I had. I'm also sticking with what I had here in the animated feature category, Mitchell's versus the... Not necessarily in this order for most likely to least likely, but I guess alphabetically it would be Encanto, Flea, Luca, Mitchell versus the Machines. Yeah, again, early on I was like, after those, because there's only 4 slots here at BAFTA, I was like, I really don't see too big an argument for the other 3. Other than, what was the other one there? Sing 2, Ray and the Last Dragon, maybe, but yeah. Okay. For the casting category, I believe I had these 5 last time. That'd be Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Lost Daughter, and West Side Story. I believe I had these 5. A couple of the British favorites like After Love or Boiling Point could be nominees here. Even something like Passing, if it's a small enough cast. You know, we saw The Two Popes, but basically a 2-person cast. That got a casting nomination here at the first time they had this category. So, yeah, so that one I'm like, okay, maybe. But, yeah, again, I just couldn't think of one to drop there. In the adapted screenplay category, I also believe I stuck with these 5. Really, I think the acting category is the only things I've switched stuff around on. So again, this would be Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and Power of the Dog. So I do have, strange enough, I do have West Side Story kind of missing this one, but getting almost virtually everything else it can get, aside from maybe an acting category or 2. Again, maybe No Time to Die might sneak in here. Again, Tragic Macbeth we mentioned might sneak in here. Even Tick Tick Boom, I would say, after the way it's done. Possible. Because remember, this one over here, it did get like on the, maybe not the director's long list, but it's on the picture long list. And it's in quite a few of those tech categories. So even though it's not necessarily one that jumps out to you like a huge, big British appeal for this kind of Broadway, off-Broadway type adaptation or whatever, it's like, yeah. I just don't, it would be, definitely it shows us, okay, this, if it gets in here over, again, a few other things, okay, then it's like, okay, it's looking a lot better in that adapted screenplay category, and definitely boasts its chance for Best Picture at the Oscars. Okay, in the original screenplay category, I believe I'm sticking with the same 5 here. Maybe one change from last time. It'd be Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Licorice Pizza, Parallel Mothers is my 5. French Dispatch I was close on. After Love I was really close on for putting that one in. Even King Richard, I think, some people are kind of discounting that one. That one I would say is probably the 6th one for me, actually, on this list. But, yeah, again, I'm like, Parallel Mothers, I don't know. That kind of feels like, Cold War and some of these productions. Some of those do get in for screenplay here at BAFTA, so that was my reasoning on that. Okay, so my final 6 here for BAFTA in supporting actress are Katrina Balfe for Belfast, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, Catherine Hunter for The Tragedy of Macbeth, and Vinette Robinson for Boiling Point. So I dropped Ruth Negga here, and I put in Catherine Hunter. I don't know, that one, she seems like she's getting a little bit more buzz lately. The film has been viewed a little bit more, I think, in the first couple weeks after the new year and stuff, after it's been out on Apple for a while. I don't know, I just get the feeling that this one is going to happen here at BAFTA. Does it carry over to the Oscars? That's a tougher chore, but yeah. And Yeah, otherwise, Ajon Ellis I can see missing here. She missed at SAG as well, so that kind of puts her in that. Oh God, I'm forgetting her name. Shoot. Oh, good. Regina King. God, I couldn't think of her name. Kind of puts her in that Regina King kind of scenario there. Let's see. Otherwise, a couple people still think Judi Dench and Rita Moreno have a shot as well here, but yeah, those are the 6 I have. In supporting actor, I now have David Alvarez for West Side Story, Jamie Dornan for Belfast, Ciarán Hinds for Belfast, Troy Kutzer for Coda, Jared Leto for House of Gucci, and Cody Smith-McPhee for Power of the Dog. Generally, other than maybe David Alvarez, these kind of feel like, okay, most of these make sense. I'd say, again, Benicio del Toro, some people do like here. Bradley Cooper, I would say, probably shouldn't sleep on him for Licorice Pizza. Yeah, otherwise it gets a little tougher when you get down to the other contenders there. All right, Best Actress. So this one, I do remember last year was the biggest miss I had in a few of these, for a few of these nominations and stuff. And yeah, this one, I don't know. I'm kind of hedging my bet on a couple of these here, so we'll see. Okay, so I have the nominees being Jessica Chastain for Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Lady Gaga for House of Gucci, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, Renate Rensby for Worst Person in the World, and Joanna Scanlon in for After Love. So before, I believe I had Rachel Zegler here, so I dropped her. Which is weird, because it could be... Actually, one thing I didn't think about until now. Remember last year how Mank, it did really well in the tech categories, and I believe it got the screenplay nomination, and then they cut it off. No director, no film, no acting nominations. Including Gary Oldman, as I recall. So, maybe... I mean, that would be an odd thing for West Side Story to kind of be that film this year, but... I don't know. That would be a strange one for sure. Tessa Thompson, I think, is going to be close here. I would definitely say a couple like Claire Rushbrook for Ally and Ava could be close here. Jennifer Hudson, I think, is still within firing range here. Obviously, Kristen Stewart, but I think we're all looking a little bit more like, okay, that feels like one that's going to miss. Just, maybe just because the British voters aren't going to go for it there. So yeah, I'm going to stick it with those 6 right now. In the Best Actor race, I have Adil Akhtar, I think I'm pronouncing the second one, I think was closer, for Ali and Ava. Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. Stephen Graham for Boiling Point. And Will Smith for King Richard. So again, until it happens, I'm keeping Denzel out, because remember, he's never gotten nominated here at BAFTA. So even though that one feels like it should be a sure thing, not always the case at BAFTA. Riz Ahmed, I think, could get in for Encounter. Peter Dinklage I had here, I believe, instead of Adil last time. So, yeah, I think he's going to be close. Cyrano, is more of a European thing, so they British might go for it a little bit more, possibly. But yeah, otherwise, after Riz Ahmed, Dinklage, and Washington, it kind of feels a little thinner in that category. Like, okay, quite a few of those are looking more like long shots there. In the directing race, I believe these are the same ones I had last time. It would be, just in order of the films here, Belfast, Drive My Car, Dune, Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Again, I think, Spielberg, I think, could be vulnerable here. Gyllenhaal, it kind of feels like she's in the midst right now. She's not, I don't think she's a clear frontrunner by any means. Otherwise, something like Titane and Afterlove could be appealing here for their directors. Even some people liking Happening or Souvenir Part 2 here as well. Tragedy Macbeth I would throw out there as a possibility. Licorice Pizza, I would say, is, again, a little less likely to do well here at BAFTA than it will definitely at the Oscars and a few other places. But, yeah. Okay, then I believe, again, I do have the same 5 for film here, which is Belfast, Dune, Don't Look Up, Power of the Dog, West Side Story. Again, I'm starting to feel more like, something like West Side Story and Don't Look Up, I think, are the two more vulnerable ones here. Remember, in the Best Film category here at BAFTA last year, do remember that we had, pretty much it was like the 5 we were all expecting the Oscars minus Mank. So, yeah. even though the director and the acting categories kind of went their own way, with a couple exceptions here at BAFTA last year, the film category was kind of more to script. So that's kind of the formula I'm sticking with for now. I'd say originally I did have Coda here instead of Don't Look Up. I think like the very first day I saw these. Licorice Pizza, I would say, definitely is not done here. No Time to Die could stick around. Lost Daughter could stick around. Tragic Macbeth, possible. But again, that one I'm again a little bit more like, okay, that could be a weird one. Kind of like, remember Villeneuve got nominated for Blade Runner, and that one did very well in the tech categories, but then it was missing in like... I believe it even missed Screenplay for BAFTA that year, on top of film and the acting categories there. So that one, I don't know, that could be a weird one like that, where Tragic Macbeth does pretty well. It does get Denzel in. Let's say, I believe Francis was longlisted, right? Yeah, maybe it surprises us and gets Francis in there for lead actress, and it gets like a screenplay nomination, and it does well in the tech categories, gets Catherine Hunter in there, and then it gets a director nomination, but then it misses film. I can see something like that happening. If it kind of does a weird performance like that, that's possible. But right now, I wouldn't put a whole bunch on it. All right. See, I told you we'd be pretty short today. Okay. So again, when BAFTA nominees are announced, it's going to be very, 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 very early or very late night here, depending on what you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and just when I can that day go into the nominees. So again, that's going to be Thursday. So so I'll just go into them when I have time, and we'll kind of talk about what missed, what didn't miss. Are we as totally shook as we were last year by the choices made by the different voting branches and committees? Relatively committees in some cases for their picks and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see. They really threw a wrench in it last year. But again, remember, BAFTA did kind of settle quite a few races. All 8 of the top 8 categories all agreed at BAFTA last year. Film, all the acting categories, director, and the 2 screenplays. So we'll see what they bring forth this year that maybe switches a couple things up in some of these key races.